If you pay attention to the channel, you may recall, way back I did previously review the USB version of 3DRAP's VOTA steering wheel, and today we have their updated edition of the VOTA that is now compatible with the Logitech G Pro direct drive wheelbase. It is PC compatible but also PlayStation console compatible, that being if you already have the PlayStation compatible version of the Logitech G Pro. So do understand it's not adding PlayStation compatibility, it just retains the function that the wheelbase already has when the VOTA steering wheel is attached. But before using the steering wheel, you will need to download and install the firmware first, otherwise the steering wheel will not function. 3DRAP ship it without the firmware installed to avoid potential attention from Sony, so don't freak out if it doesn't work out of the box. The firmware installation procedure is straightforward. Firstly, download the firmware to your PC and have the included cable attached to your wheel. Before you plug into your PC, push a toothpick or something similar into this tiny hole. There's a button in there. Hold it in while connecting the USB. A folder for the wheel automatically opens on your desktop. Now copy the firmware into the folder, and that's it. Simply plant the steering wheel on the wheelbase, turn it on as usual, and select the mode of operation as per normal. And there you have it. The quick release is composed of two main components, the column and the retention ring. These are industrial grade nylon 3D printed parts. 3DRAP have told me they can withstand up to 25 Newton meters of torque. The quick release slides into the channel on the wheelbase steering column, and the retention ring creates the tight fit. At the same time the ring is tightened, two rounded fingers are pressed into the steering column cutouts. The quick release always remained tight, it never came loose, and there was never a hint of any creaking or knocking during any of my testing. The impressive 5mm thick forged carbon fibre plate provides the light and stiff support for the VOTA. The chunky silicone rubber handles have been moulded onto the frame. They offer grip and comfort. Six backlit buttons and two 7-way funky switches give us a grand total of 20 inputs. The micro-switched carbon fibre shifter paddles use magnets for their snap action tension. The dual analog potentiometer based clutch paddles use strong opposing magnets instead of springs. This is the clutch paddle dial for balancing the biting point bias. When I previously reviewed the USB version of the VOTA steering wheel, I assessed it favourably, and it remains one I still enjoy using. At 285mm, it's perfectly sized to suit GT and open wheel racing. The moulded grips have a plush feel. Whether I'm wearing gloves or just bare hands, the cushion makes them very comfortable. The rubbery texture provides excellent grip either way. The VOTA is a solid, agile handling steering wheel, and personally, I do like its eye-catching, elegant styling. My opinion hasn't changed, but there are specifics that relate to this wheel when used with the Logitech G Pro that we should talk about. Firstly, and most obvious, we no longer have the cable clutter. The button inputs pass through the steering column connection. 3DRAP have fashioned their own wheel side quick release. Being that it is 3D printed certainly could raise some concern, including questions for myself. Is it going to be sufficient for the task? So far it's held up just fine. I haven't experienced any issues, zero disconnections. I find the bond between the wheel and the base is just as stable as the Logitech metal quick release. The quick release is not made using regular 3D printers. These parts are manufactured using expensive industry standard machines and methods designed for producing extremely tough mechanical parts. The material is nylon, a strong impact resistant polymer. The end result is considerably a cut above anything you could produce with a 3D printer at home. The VOTA sits closer to the wheelbase than the stock wheel, and this does add the possibility of your fingers brushing the wheelbase, reaching for the shifter paddles. If you have large hands, that could pose a problem. I have medium-sized hands, and occasionally I did find my fingertips touching the edge of the wheelbase. Another effect of the shallow distance between the wheel and base, plus combined with the upward angle of the steering column, means the VOTA sits lower than the stock wheel. This may not be very apparent from this footage, but I can tell this disparity between the two wheels in use. If you're particular about everything being just so, this may bother you. My first impression when I swapped over to the VOTA for the first time, it felt a bit strange with the steering wheel lower in the cockpit. This doesn't affect the usability of the wheel, and I did get used to it, though I can't deny I really would prefer if it was positioned a couple of centimetres higher. I could alter the height of the wheelbase, but then I'd end up with the reverse problem, with the stock wheel being raised too high. So what I'd really like to see here is a longer version of the quick release on the VOTA to match the depth of the stock wheel. That would also mitigate the problem of fingers hitting the base while shifting. I discovered the G-Hub software recognises the wheelbase is turned on, but is not able to identify this wheel, and this essentially breaks the G-Hub software from allowing you to change any settings in Windows. This doesn't prevent you from changing the settings directly on the wheelbase, so you can work around this. If I switch back to the stock wheel, the G-Hub software becomes usable again. When I swap between the VOTA and the stock wheel, or vice versa, games don't recognise it as being the same device. That means when I change from one wheel to the other, I'm forced to remap the wheel entirely in the game settings. Maybe a future firmware update can address this. In the meantime, if the game allows you to save different device profiles, then set up a separate wheel profile for each of the steering wheels. You can then switch between the profiles as and when you need to, and avoid the frustration of manually remapping the inputs. On the Logitech wheel, we can see the labels showing the fixed button assignments for console users. That's not the case on the VOTA. Console gamers will need to work this out for themselves. 3DRAP have not published a chart displaying the corresponding button mapping. It would be helpful if they did. The VOTA does come with a selection of printed stickers for labelling the buttons, but these do not include console controller button stickers. Being that this steering wheel add-on is also targeted at console users, I would have hoped that this would have been covered. So a few things to be aware of and elements that could be improved, but nothing critical that prevents it from functioning perfectly well. This is a premium steering wheel I do enjoy using. It's got a great look to it and feels really nice in my hands. We're not quite finished. I have one final feature to share with you that may positively add to your decision making. What makes this steering wheel natively compatible with the G Pro is the custom quick release and firmware, both of which can be easily changed. The VOTA can be converted to a universal USB steering wheel, an implication that means in the future, if you move to a different brand, you can take this steering wheel with you, extending its useful life, adding value to the product. The steering wheel already comes shipped with the USB cable, and the required firmware is downloadable from 3DRAP directly, so we're halfway there to begin with. So all you need to do is swap the Logitech quick release for this hub. Essentially this hub is what is already installed with the USB version of the VOTA, so it's nothing new. 3DRAP are planning to sell this hub piece as a standalone accessory. It may be listed on their website by the time you watch this review. 3DRAP have the honour of being the first to bring to market a fully functional third-party compatible steering wheel add-on for the Logitech G Pro. Largely it's a success, with a few bits and pieces that could be improved, but nothing serious of nature. Essentially it's the same VOTA that I love using on my Moser wheelbase as a USB steering wheel, but in this instance with my Logitech wheelbase, and it's certainly a welcome change over the stock wheel, which was the only option I had for the past 2 years.